going live.
All right.
I believe in the stars and stripes. What's wrong is wrong and what's right is right. I believe that a hard day's work is where the hard days pay. I believe in the Lord above. We should walk his walk and I'll show.
Now that we got all that crap out of the way,
Hey, you know.
that little disclaimer. Here, let me crank this up a little bit.
In this day and age, you got to cover day.
I had to get the disclaimer out of the way, right? And I will always want to give kudos to the Clint Moody Band, which we have the exclusive right to play this song. And we love Clint Moody. Thank you so much, brother. This guy is really playing with Toby Keith. I got a little Toby Keith right here.
I won't be broken.
Hey guys, everybody, welcome to the Real Deal broadcast with my co-host Speed Racer Rob Jones, and Bo Carver will not be with us tonight. He is on a hot date with his wife, a hot date with Barbara and the Purple Haze. They are out doing some dinner. He said he was hungry, couldn't make it tonight, so we're just glad to have you all here. Rob, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. You like the hat?
I love the hat.
So I was thinking about going to Baltimore. I heard there was like an opening for a ship's pilot.
Oh God, you did not just do that.
And I got the hat, right? It was in the closet.
Yeah, you're the captain.
I can do that job. I can crash into a poster as good
well,
as
you know what? So first of all, let's just talk about the lives lost. Let's just give credence to them. And we're so sorry for the lives lost. But what is going on with that bridge?
It's deep state fuckery.
It is fuckery. And I believe it, man. I mean, we can sit here and go, oh, you're conspiracy theorists or whatever. All you have to do is look at the video, like from the two different angles that they showed it from behind, which is the first one they released. And then the second one they released was from the front. And in the front, you could see. Yeah, I don't even want to go. If y'all don't believe it, go check out the videos. As long as they're up.
Before I even heard about it, before I saw the news, the first thing I saw about it, and I don't know how people think about General Michael Flynn. There's some people that think he's a black hat. Some people think he's a white hat. I haven't seen the evidence. But the first thing but I do follow him on X, and I saw.
Right.
He said he called it a black swan event.
Yeah, well, they've been talking about this for a few
months. That was before I even saw
the next
other stuff, right?
They've been talking about this for the last couple months about the next Black Swan event. Was this it? I don't know.
That was sure. And you know where the guy driving the boat where he's from?
Oh yeah, he's from Ukraine.
He's Ukrainian. It was like,
yeah, he's Ukrainian. Yeah, and at first I thought it was Evergreen, but it's actually not Evergreen. It's Mansk? Is that's the shipping cargo? And then we hear that not only are they going to the federal government said they're going to pay for the repairs. What about the insurance from that company that owned that ship? Nothing at all. If they're liable. If they did that, and they're saying they did that, it was them, then why would we just flip the bill for that?
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody's
more depth.
Rebuild
more depth
the bridge.
to the story.
Somebody needs to compensate the poor souls that were on the bridge.
Yeah. And you know what? And I watched it, and I watched it when they said, let's shut down the bridge right now. Something's going on. And so they shut down the bridge. And so there was no traffic on the bridge, but there were still workers on the bridge. Yeah. And God bless their souls, But everything I saw led me to believe that this is something other than what we thought, Something other than what mainstream media is telling us anyways. Right.
Per normal, right? That's
right.
That's the way. That's the reason why Real Deal broadcast and things like this exist, right? You have to have citizen journalists in order to get, even if we're not right 100% of the time, we're not lying. It's a lie.
No, we're just saying what we see, and you got to be blind to not see what's happening right here. So
Right. So the definition, if you look in Webster's, the definition of a lie is to tell something that's not true with the intent to deceive.
yeah,
So we can, and if we make a mistake, I'll come on here and we'll retract whatever. But the mainstream media is lying on purpose to present a certain narrative.
they've been doing that for the last since Obama, right? Like when they told us Michelle was a girl, right? So I mean, we can go back to there. Anyways, Sean Treadway, hey, what's up, brother? Sean, if you're hey, listen, I want to just do a little thing real quick. If you guys are coming on Patriots at Large, which we love you guys, it's my group. I love you guys. But if you want to go to the Real Deal broadcast, your name will show up on the bottom of the screen. Otherwise, if you come on through Patriots at Large, it doesn't show up, and I have to go and I'm watching on Patriots at Large who's talking, who's there, and we also have Keith Amon saying thank you, Terry, whatever. We're glad that you guys are here. Thank you guys. Hey, we've got a great guest tonight. We've got actually a couple great guests tonight, Rob, and one of them I met on the People's Convoy on my way up to Minnesota, on the way up to DC, and on the way up to Hagerstown, where I ended up breaking off and I went to DC from there. But it's Contessa, and it's Contessa Mendoza. I want to make sure I get that right. Contessa Mendoza, and she has been involved over the last, however long, with Latinos United for America, and also just in her local community. And from talking to her before the show, she's in Oregon. I'm just going to leave that right there. I'm just going to drop that. She's in Oregon. So what do y'all think about that? She's in Oregon.
She's behind enemy lines.
Yeah, she is behind enemy lines. But thank you. Yeah, but thank you for being there. So I guess without further ado, let's bring Contessa online real quick. Hello. Hey, Contessa, how are you?
Hey.
Glad to have you.
In beautiful Oregon. Today is still snowing. It snowed this morning.
Wow.
It is beautiful there.
Yeah.
It's a shame that the West Coast is so infiltrated with communism. It is the most beautiful part of our nation.
I think so.
From Northern California, Mount Shasta is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life.
Monterey,
Rainier in Washington. It's gorgeous there. It's just spoiled.
Yeah.
Well,
I am spoiled.
Contessa, I want to thank you for coming on last minute. We had Elsa Aldeguer.
Mm-hmm.
Aldeguer. See,
no, you did it right. Don't.
Aldeguer. I shouldn't try to roll my R's. Elsa's a dear friend of mine. There's a long story behind Elsa and I, and we'll go into that later when she comes on. But she's coming on tonight too. And at the last moment, she said, "I'm still doing my taxes," and she tried to bring Jen Lowe on. Jen said she was busy. She said, "Well, Contessa will come on and speak for Latinos for Trump." And we say Latinos for Trump. I understand there's been some controversy over that, over Latinos for Trump or Latinos United for America, whatever. Yeah. We know who you guys are, and we're just glad to have you here. And so tell us what's going on in your world.
So, I was heavily involved. I've been heavily involved with Elsa down in SoCal in LA for several years, doing Latinos for Trump and Latinos United for America. I know that in specifically, it originated the push for Latinos to flip from blue to red, from Democrat to Republican.
Absolutely.
And we were a very prominent and influential part of doing that as Latinos for Trump. And that was and look at how successful we were, because so many different Latino populations in different areas of the country flipped. And we did a lot of, we were able to flip a lot of areas and flip a lot of large cities and large parts of the country.
Not just in California. but
No, across the country.
across the country,
Yeah,
right?
and it pretty much originated in California. Like that push to do that originated in California. And so I we were really happy to finally wake up our people just in time before the crazy push to completely obliterate our family values and our godly values, you know, with what they've done with trying to completely break up the family, break up um our godly values as far as, you know, the whole LGBTQ agenda. And
Exactly.
then ultimately, like, they're trying to X out our language as a whole with the Latinx, the Latinx thing. So it was really an exciting time to be able to flip so many, open up so many Latinos' eyes to saying, wait a minute, like, we have historically voted Democrat because that's kind of what we were always told. But
Right.
actually, like, let's really look at what the values are of each party and where do we align more. And people started to realize, wait a minute, you're right. We don't align with that as Latinos. We don't, those are
Because
not our values.
what? Hard work, ethics, belief in God, um, tr- um,
Family,
family,
fatherhood,
loving your country.
pro-life,
Right.
conservative. We're very conservative.
Right. And so being aligned with the Democratic Party before was just, again, more brainwashing of the Democratic Party. And
Hmm.
you guys were instrumental in bringing, and you and I talked about this before the show. I've got Hispanics that have worked for me for 20, 30 years. And, you know, they are the same way. They're hardworking. They don't want to see their ability to have a family, have all those things, to work hard and be rewarded for it, washed down the drain by this Bidenomic, eh, you know, regime that we
Yeah.
have right now.
Hmm. And I know that a big issue tends to be like the border issue and allowing people to come in illegally. And since that is a large, um, so that's a large aspect of Latino life, is being able to come to this country.
Right,
That there tends to be a lot of conflict surrounding your belief about that issue.
right,
And many people, if you have been here for a long time, Latinos typically are against illegal immigration. People think that because you're Latino, you're always going to be for the illegal immigration push, right? But that's
right.
not true. Among Latinos who have been here longer, typically, um, and then you have the ones that have just come here and that have come largely illegally and are just here. Um, they tend to be more towards like, yes, open the borders, let us in, you know, like they kind of follow the leftist rhetoric
Can
regarding
I
that.
can I speak back to that real quick? Because so you know that I was down on the border with PFA. We were down there detecting, deterring, and reporting the illegal invasion that was down there, right? But yet on the
Mhm.
other hand, like I told you, I've hired Latinos, I've hired Hispanics. You know, to me, if you're an American, you're American. We talked about
Yeah.
this. It's not really
Mhm.
Latino American. It's not really Mexican American. We're all Americans, right? We want what's best for this country. If you live here and you've raised a family here, then you want what's best for this country. So when we have the illegal invasion to the numbers that we have had over the last 3 years, and the numbers have been through the roof. I mean, we're talking 10 million illegal aliens in 3 years. You know, almost
Yeah.
4 years. By the time the 4 years is done, they're projecting 12 million illegal
Mhm.
aliens, right? That's unsustainable. That's not what, you know, you have
You
seasonal
know it.
migration. No, it's unsustainable. So
Yeah.
and I've got dear friends. I met Elsa, who's coming on later, down in Laredo, and my heart is down the border. When I went to the border, I fell in love with the people I met down there that live on the American border on our Texas.
Mhm.
Well, I met them in Texas, but so I fell in love with them. But I met a young man when I was down there, and his name is Osvaldo de Leon. And Osvaldo, if you're listening, I love you. Osvaldo came across on a student visa. He ended up getting his citizenship. He ended up getting his graduate degree through
Mhm.
the college in Laredo. And now he's going to want to run for Congress down there. But he came across, he did it the right way. If you are seeking asylum, come to the front door. If you're really trying to gain illegally, then crash our gates, or crash the river. So there's a difference. And for people that live here that are Hispanic, like you said, you guys understand that. And I've got guys that work for me. They're like, yeah, we love our Mexican community. We have a great relationship with Mexico. America does. We really do. But when it comes to this part, and a lot of these people aren't even from Mexico. They're from Central America. They're from further south. They're from now from China and all over the world. Yeah. So, but your point that you were making was that you guys are also seeing this.
Yeah, I think that because if you've been here a little longer, even many people, I know many Latinos who actually came here illegally,
right,
but are absolutely not for the just open free-for-all invasion. And after having lived here for a time and understanding, the way things work, even though they have come here illegally, they're actually not for it. And especially not for this open free-for-all either. And but when you do have Latinos that were either born here or have been here for generations, they tend to side with what you're saying. You've got to do things the right way.
Right. Well, you've been involved. You and I met, and it's been almost 3 years ago, because it was on the Freedom Convoy, right?
Yeah.
Has it been 3? It's almost, because it was before. No, it was right after Trump, or after Biden was selected, and so we were
first State of the Union.
Yes,
they
exactly.
Went there for his very first State of the Union, and we were there for that. Heckling.
Yeah. And so you've been involved, you've been pro-America, pro, just, Latinos getting involved. What have you been up to? What have you been doing in the community lately?
So after leaving LA and moving up to Oregon, I came here on fire and ready to mobilize the Latino population up here. But what I found was, I kind of knew this already. There was, especially here in Central Oregon, there was very minimal Latino population here, and definitely not very many, if any at all, really, long time Latinos, American-born Latinos, or Latinos who had just been living here a long time. It was very small, and the Latino community was very small, and they kind of kept themselves hidden. I will say that over the last couple of years, with all this border explosion stuff, our Latino population has grown. It has exploded here, and
right.
And then a lot of them are coming from California. So we mostly would have a lot of first generation, or just straight from the Latino countries that are here. And so we didn't have a lot of service. We didn't have a lot of outreach and everything to Latinos here. We actually, since our county has been overtaken by strong leftist, progressive, liberal Democrats, they're really strongly moving our area in that direction. And we only have one organization that serves and caters the Latino population here, called the Latino Community Association. And they're just right on board with the whole leftist, progressive agenda and the whole Latinx agenda, because that's who's giving them the funding, right? They have the money. So it's sad that so far, I've been chipping away at it little by little, getting out into the Latino community. When I talk to a lot of Latinos here, they're actually pretty unaware. And when I explain to them the LGBTQ and the Latinx agenda, and how it's infiltrating the schools, they're kind of unaware. And then they're because they tend to stay out of things politically. you have to work really hard here. It's very expensive. So they tend to they're not focused in that direction. And when I try and talk to them about political things, they're just largely not interested. They're here to like kind of like keep their head down. Let me just work.
See,
I'm taking care of my family. They don't have
that's
a
a
lot of
that's a problem right there, though. That is a problem, right?
yeah.
Because we've talked about this, and it's not just in the Latino community. This is across the board. This is in
Yeah.
the white community, the black community.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to keep their head down because because we have this weaponized DOJ, we have this government, this regime that is anybody that speaks out against them, they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, myself included. And so, everybody's like, oh my God, we're scared. And so you would think even especially so would be first generation Hispanics, right? Or Latinos, right? First generation. I mean, they're like, we're not going to say anything. We're going to just hunker down and work as best we can, try to get the American dream. But we're afraid of what we would say, because if we even believe that our government is poised against us, then what?
Yeah. And they're just not very aware. They don't know that these things are happening. When I explain to them, what the schools are doing, the indoctrination with their kids, they don't like it, and they're shocked, and they kind of just don't really see it. And then it's almost like they don't believe me in a way,
Right. Because you're probably like a conspiracy theorist or something, right?
Well, and the brainwashing, just like somebody that was born here, it starts with the TV. It starts with Sesame Street. It starts with all of the input that you get, and then when you get to school, you start getting indoctrinated. They start doing it right for the people coming over the border. They're handed a phone. They're handed a Biden T-shirt.
Right.
They're indoctrinated as soon as they get here. So that you have to chip through that to get to.
And Spanish news is the worst. It's worse than CNN,
Really? Can it really? No way. There is no way. There is no way.
Spanish news is accelerated.
No.
News. So
you're thinking Univision. You're thinking Univision is worse than CNN.
Telemundo, Univision.
All of these, really? Because why? Tell me why.
I think that I think that overall, as Latinos, we tend to be more dramatic, passionate, expressive. And so the news reporting has to match our mood, right? It has to match our cultural style. And so they amp it up. The fear mongering is even worse, and because I do think they take advantage of the fact that you've got people that are kind of more newcomers to the country, so they're not as educated into the ways of our country, and they take advantage of that. But so over here, so that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that didn't actually surprise me. I've Jorge Ramos has been around long enough, and I think a lot of people realize that Spanish speaking news is fairly slanted that direction. People like
fairly. Yeah.
That guy's a nightmare.
It is. He's horrible. It is. And so it takes a real strong grassroots effort to reach out to the Latino community. So what I have found is that I'm the only one here pretty much attempting to do that. So it's a very slow process. I'm chipping away at it little by little. I am highly involved with the Republican Party here.
What are the issues that are important to the Latino people in your area? I mean, is it
economics,
okay,
family, taking care of your family, and I would also say maintaining our culture.
All right. Well, let me talk about that.
Being safe, economic safety, and education for the younger generation.
You mentioned family and culture, right? Mm-hmm. I've always been under the impression that the largest portion of the Hispanic community is Catholic.
Yeah.
and there's a lot of strongly held Catholic ties amongst whether you're from Mexico or Venezuela or whatever. And I've always had this misunderstanding or not understanding why there wouldn't be more conservative Hispanics based on the abortion issue, because that's always been
But I think there are, Rob. I think that's the case.
Well, that's not the way they vote, though. So it's just
but that's what she was explaining
before. The deception is so strong; they don't really understand what they're voting for.
That's what wanted to get me back to.
Educated.
That's what wanted me to get back to economics, though, because if it's economics, and we're talking about people that want to work, they want to be able to make a salary, they want to be able to pay for their family. But so the Democrats are like, oh, okay, well, we're going to do unions. Let's talk about unions. Let's talk about other ways that people want to be able to make their money. And then all of a sudden, they're like, okay, well, you're entrenched now because you want to make a living, go with the union or go with however you can make money. But now it's not just about that. It's about, and that's turned out to be a fallacy. It's not even about the money that you can make with the union, because the unions, all they want to do, it's like indentured servitude. That's what it's like.
Yeah. And it's a false premise. I've also worked heavily with like anti-union organization. I was working for an anti-union organization attempting to like dismantle the unions because they just, everything is up front. Like all the leftists, like you're talking about, the reason why we tend to vote more Democrat is because their messaging is so strong and they appeal to certain aspects to create the smoke and mirrors so that we're not paying attention to the aspects that we don't agree with. And then what they've done with the younger generation is they have, methodically been able to basically indoctrinate them as to the mentality you should have towards these certain values like abortion or the LGBT community or like trans rights and all of that. And so there's such a gap and a divide between the older generation and the younger generation in the Latino community now that like they don't care about the older generation anymore. They're focusing more on the younger generation.
Well, they're targeting them and they're grooming them, and they're same thing they've been doing for years. But the great news is that you guys are speaking out against that, and you're raising awareness to what's really happening in our country. Yeah. And as far as whether it be the Latinos or whether it be blacks or whites, we're all Americans, like I said before, right? Mm-hmm. We're all being sold a bill of goods. We all are. Point an example. I'm going to talk to you about this. So my kids are 30, 25, and 20 years old, 5 years apart, right? Mm-hmm. My boys. And one of my boys came into me today, and he was like literally in tears. I'm about ready to start crying about this because he came over and gave me a hug. And he wasn't literally in tears. He was in tears. He said, Dad, I'm trying so hard. I can't get ahead. I can't. Everything costs so much. Yeah. Everything. And this is my freaking son. Mm-hmm. And I'm just breaking my heart. And it's not just in the Latino community. It's across the board. It's across the board. And we're dealing with this system that's not working. It's broken. And how do we fix that? We unite. We get together. We say, hey, blacks, whites, Latinos, whatever. We unite and we say, we're not going to take this anymore. We're going to vote you down. We're going to vote these people down, and we're not going to accept this as the norm anymore. And that's what they're trying to push. Is that what is it? Mm-hmm. What is that saying that they said? You will have nothing and like it, or what is that?
You'll own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm just like my kids are like, I can never own a house. My kids. I
hear that so much from the younger generation.
I know.
They can never own a house. Yeah.
Nobody under 35 can afford a house. I heard that yesterday.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
so what are we doing for our kids? What are we doing for our kids, our grandkids, across the board to affect a change?
Well, I think that the Patriots were the ones that are doing everything. I think the grassroots
Exactly.
Patriots are the ones who are taking on that challenge, going behind enemy lines. Like I said, over here, this is what I've done in the short amount of time that I've gotten here. I've gotten on the executive team of the Deschutes Republican Party, so that I have an area of influence there and an area of connection. Through, like, currently through the Republican Party, we're heavily backing and campaigning and pushing for our candidate Lori Chavez DeRemer to
Oh, you
maintain
talked about her earlier. Good.
U.S.
Yes.
House of Representatives, which is a double win. You've got a Latina and you have a Republican. And so the Democrats want that seat so bad, but this fight has national implications, but our state is seeing a Latina taking office at a high level for the conservative side. So that's huge. And so within the Republican Party, and especially our, Deschutes Republicans is one of the lead counties for the country in our conservative and our right leaning and Republican values. So in our efforts. And then I've also taken a role. So what I'm also doing is trying to do a lot of damage control. And I'm at city council all the time and telling them we are not oppressed. Do not talk about us like that. There's not racism here. This is not a racist place. Like, to dispel that whole racist, you're oppressed narrative. So I take on this on a regular basis doing that. And I'm also part of the biggest patriot group for people's rights in our country. Right. And so now I'm starting to, I've just been making my connections more and more within the community to start reaching the Latinos here.
And that's awesome. I want to just touch base on that real quick, because, when you were talking just a minute ago, you were talking about being these oppressed people, right?
Yeah.
Right. And Latinos, sure, they're oppressed, and blacks, sure, they're oppressed, right? But guess what? Whites are oppressed too right now. It doesn't matter. If you do not follow the narrative of this regime, you are going to be oppressed, right? One of the most, and then we talk about disenfranchised, right? We talk about inner cities being disenfranchised. They don't have a vote. They don't have a right, but they're given that right. But yet, when I was in Laredo, when I was in Del Rio, when I was down in these border communities, my heart, I was like, you want to talk to me about a disenfranchised community? Sarah Whitten took me around the border down there to Roma and Laredo and all these different places. And you're talking about people that are living with the open border policy that we have, where they can't take their kids out to go play soccer without people running across the soccer field. And we just pretend like, oh, nothing's happening. So how do we reconcile what's happening in the Hispanic community or in the Latino community or in our, it's not even that. What's happening in our country? This is happening in our country. It doesn't matter. Black, white, brown, yellow. It does not matter. We're still dealing with the same thing. And what I do love about this, though, is that we are united now, like with you guys, and we have been. I've known Elsa for years, is that we're united, and we're just going to say, you know what? Screw you guys. I don't care what, it's us against the government. All of us.
Well, yeah, and we are uniting. And I'll say a couple of things because I know but you will find, like I said, a different perspective from Elsa, because in SoCal, everybody's so shocked. But to learn that actually there are a lot of conservative Latinos in SoCal, in California.
Exactly.
The benefit of that, where people are outwardly conservative. Like, when I say there's a lot of conservatives in there's a lot of outwardly aware conservatives in California. And there's a lot more, well, since there's so many more Latinos there, and you have such a bigger variety of like being anywhere from first generation to 10th generation, right? And everything in between. So there's a lot more Latinos that are able to connect to the conservative movement. Whereas here, it's a lot more first generation Latinos and the population is very small. So it's a harder fight. And when I want to go back to saying, when I say that they keep telling us that we're oppressed and you're like, well, we're all oppressed. But see they use the word oppressed, but what they really mean is, so you're a victim and you can't make it without us. So you've got to be dependent. That's what they're saying. And I say,
that's
no,
exactly right. That's the freaking point.
Our own business. We like Latinos are very good at, finding the work. We will find the work and we will do it without your
they're trying to drive a wedge between everybody, because when they say you're oppressed and they get people to believe that you're oppressed, what they've done is they've driven a wedge between whites, blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, whatever,
and so is that you're a victim and you need us.
It's the victim mentality, right? Go to the government. Right. Go to the government. The government will take care of you. It's like that saying, when we're here from the government and we're here to help.
Yeah. Thank you for reading that list.
We know where that goes. We know where that goes.
So I think if you talk to me maybe a year from now, I've made a lot more headway because I'm finally just starting to like get in. It took a while. It's taken a lot of groundwork and time and investment to just be here for a while, observe, see how things work, what's going on here, and now
do something about it, right?
But I'm glad that I was able to get in on the Republican Party, and that's been a huge accomplishment. And if you got any Oregon people here, like, make sure you vote for Lori Chavez DeRemer. We need to keep her in her seat. She is like, so much about our entire country and our state rests on her keeping that seat. And so vote. Make sure you vote. And we're even, that's a hell of the issue, which I won't even go into, but whether Latinos vote or not, because especially if you're newer to the country, it's like, oh, we can't vote. They stay out of it. And no, like we're on a huge push even to get people to vote.
So Elsa said she didn't think she could make it on in time. She's doing her taxes, which is her due diligence, and as an American citizen, whatever. And being
impressed.
You're right. And I know that you said you had to go by like 7:45. Is that, or excuse me?
Yeah, I wonder when else is getting on. I would love for us to be on.
I don't think she's going to. I think she's not going to make it on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least you're on side.
Yeah, and she said she's texting me right now, and she said, "You saved the day. Contessa saved the day." And so no, you did a great job. We had a lot of comments from our viewers and saying what a great discussion, and what a wonderful thing it is that you are speaking out for the Latinos and for all Americans. It's not Latinos. We are all Americans. And so we're just glad to have you on. We'd love to have you on again. I don't know if you have to go right now or we can continue to talk or.
Yeah, well, I got about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right. Tell me this.
10 minutes. So
all right. Tell me this. Tell me this in 5 minutes. How can we help the Oregon, California, Latino community?
Well, I will tell. Okay, so, well, there's always donations to our Latino candidates. That helps spreading the word. Like, it doesn't cost you anything to educate yourself on who the conservative Latino candidates are in different states, and just like put that on your social media. That's like one of the easiest thing to do. I think social media is the easiest thing because the web of social media goes out far and vast, right? Everybody has connections everywhere. And so when you put things that reflect who we are as Latinos on your social media, that definitely sends the message out and has a ripple effect. A lot of us Latinos have family in different parts of the country. And so, like if you're in Texas and you've got cousins in California, send them the information, definitely. And I think that educating yourself on what Democrats are really saying and just being able to talk about it, for sure, like understanding what the Latinx really is, that it is not a way to be inclusive, but it is a way to completely cancel out our native language and replace it with something that does not reflect our values. Being able to just reflect that even in your social media is great. But I think the best thing, because we want to be able to, right, like combat the leftist agenda in our legislation, is to be aware of who the candidates are and just like put a shout out on your social media.
Okay, yeah, so for example, right, so Latinos United for America, Latinos for Trump, right? And so, and Elsa's not on here to talk about Latinos for Trump, but there was some
because another person created another Latinos for Trump, and she
there was a freaking lawsuit over that, right?
Oh, it was huge deal.
You know, I want to tell you something, Elsa. When I started Patriots for Large, which we've got 71,000 members right now, right? But when I started it, well, actually, I started it and then it got shut down. And when I started it again, I reached out to Elsa, and she was instrumental. And at the time, she had 4,000 some odd people in her group, and she invited everybody from her group to join Patriots at Large. And so there is a great amount of the communities that are intertwined right now, and we love you guys. We're all for you. You're all for us, so we want to help. People are vacating California. They're leaving California. They're leaving Oregon, and they're saying, we're leaving." But the people that are staying, like you and Elsa, you're the warriors that are you're in the trenches right now. Yeah. And so we want to be able to help you however we can, because we're all Americans, right? It's not just like, oh, California, oh my God, they're so bad. There's so many conservatives in California. There's so many conservatives in Oregon. We want to be able to help you guys. How can we help you other than joining Latinos United for America or People's Rights? How can we help the community, the Latino conservative community in California, Oregon? How can we help?
I think we need people to set up conservative businesses, conservative nonprofit organizations, right? Because the Democrats definitely also have a hold on the nonprofit sector. And I think it'd be super helpful if we could, create more conservative and Latino focused nonprofit organizations, because there aren't very many. We don't tend to do that very much. Voting, we have to vote. We have to encourage people to vote. We have to register people to vote. Voting is definitely a big something that people have kind of given up hope on, but it costs you nothing. How hard is it to vote? Why?
But people are so scared to vote, or not scared, but they're so disillusioned to vote, right? But and that's what they want.
Ring to fight again. It's okay, so maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe it's going to cheat, maybe they won't. But just still put your vote in. How hard is that?
Still do it, right? If they're going to cheat, still vote, right?
So, Contessa, you mentioned businesses and organizations to get patriot businesses together. There's a Facebook group called Patriot Owned Businesses, POB. The gentleman that administers that page is a friend of ours named Tim Labatsky, and he's
Labatsky.
Kind of the vision there is for whether it's in the Dallas area or the Bend, Oregon area or Los Angeles, having members of that group patronize other. It's a place for patriots to advertise their business, and people who want to do business with patriots to give them their business. And it's taken off, and it's something that that we could There should be a nationwide
POB, Tim Labatsky. You say tomato, I say tomato. But no, it's a great organization. And so it's the same thing. It's all about teaming together, bonding together, you know, bringing patriots together. And one thing I wanted to mention too, Contessa, you said this one thing before. You said patriots. You said it's about patriots. Doesn't matter if you're Latino, if you're white, if you're black, if you're yellow. If we're patriots and we bond together, we have so many numbers of people. The patriot community, they try to talk down about us and say the patriots are rebels or they're insurrectionists. I mean, but we're
an insurrectionist, so or at least
right. Exactly. I have that on the back of my shirt. You want to see it?
Kind of hard to read.
Yeah. Well, I moved fast, but we're all together in this. So I'm just glad you came on, Contessa. It's been 3 years since I saw you. So good to see you again.
And my last thing, show up. This just came to mind.
Yes.
Show up to your local city council meetings, school board. School board is hugely important. So that just came to mind. You know what the biggest thing that people could do? Show up to your local school board and city council and make a statement and tell them what you want.
School board, city council, your church board meeting, everything. You know, we start at the grassroots. We start at the lower levels. We win there. We win big.
That's where if government's going to have power, it needs to be at the local level. That's where it affects us the most. We need to bring the power from Washington D.C. and bring it to the municipalities. It's like you got to squish the rabbits.
You have influence over your local community.
Absolutely.
Yep. If you get involved, if you do something, if you stand up, if you say something, if you don't, then shame on you.
Well, and like Contessa was talking about earlier, getting plugged in and making those, join your local Republican group, get to know people, because the people that are running that you want to vote for will show up at those organizations to talk to you, and you can know who your city council members are. You know who your mayor is, at least if they're on the good side. If they're a rhino, then we find out who's running against them, and let's get in front of them and support them. We need to get because the Democrats are only half the battle, right? The rhinos and that are part of the Unity Party, they are more insidious because our people that think the way that we do, they just don't get informed or educated. They go ahead and vote for somebody that has a yard sign that says conservative above their name, and they couldn't be less conservative than Joe Biden.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. Get plugged in, get informed. And we've got to start it at the local level. It's like I'm always talking a lot local politics, and Terry's always talking about the border. So this is like a perfect guest.
This is a perfect storm. Yeah, my heart's down on the border, but my heart's with the Latino community too, because they are on the border and they are disenfranchised. And Contessa, we just thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This has been great. I will come on anytime.
We'll have you on again. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
We'll pray.
All right. Love you guys.
Take care.
All right. So that was awesome because what?
She's great. I love her.
That
because it's the mindset that we're trying to promote on the Real Deal broadcast. It's you have to get educated first, know what's going on, and then after you figure out, well, how do I feel about what's going on, and have some kind of point of view, then figure out who are the people that are going to align with your point of view and get plugged in.
So you know how I met Contessa? You know how I met Contessa was through Elsa, right? And Elsa was down in Laredo with you and me and all of us Patriots at Large when we did the event with Chrissy Hutcherson.
Yeah,
and so our roots go deep with them.
She was our link to Stuart Rhodes, which mentioned that, right? We did. Yeah, here's we showed a disclaimer, but this is the Stuart Rhodes disclaimer. We did not be there. He was not on the speakers list. What was her Hutchison? What was her name again? She snuck him in at
Christy
the last
Hutcherson.
minute. Christy.
She
Yeah.
didn't sneak him in. No, she didn't sneak him in.
All I know is he was standing on the.
He
on the
walked
stage
up on the
ready-
stage. Christy didn't even know he was there. He
Oh,
walked
I
up on
thought
the
she
stage.
came to- I thought all this time I've thought that she came to
No.
you. You've got an open slot. Can we get this guy on?
No. Stewart walked up on the stage. Stewart's great, man. I love Stewart. He's adjacent. He's looking at what, 20, 30 years now.
I think it was
I
29.
mean,
I think he got 29.
yeah, just unbelievable. This is again the overreach. Stewart came down there to speak his mind. I don't care, again, this is our opinion. When Christy Hutcherson held that rally, Alan West was there, and there was a break in the commentators. Stewart just got up on the stage and spoke, and that's okay, man, because you know what? This is America, man. We're going to speak about what we want to speak about. Was freedom of speech. Now, I don't know. It's just
there's just a lot of controversy around Stewart anyway, right? Whether basically
it's a 3%er. If I do this,
but
if I do this, or if I do this, does that make me a 3%er? Or does that mean it's okay? This is so much bullshit about nothing.
Well,
is it, it's okay, or am I a 3%er?
Or I don't know.
Or am I just a pro-American, that wants to see? Who cares if you're a Proud Boy, if you're a Patriot Boy, if you're a 3%er?
Oh,
if you love our country, and nobody ever tried to overthrow our country.
Those guys are so misrepresented. Every one of the Proud Boys that I've known, which only a couple of them,
right?
They were there. Every event that we go to where they're there, their charter is to protect us.
Right.
Protect us.
And we know when we were there in DC and Antifa they were beating old people. We saw it, dude. We saw them beating old people. I was walking down Washington Avenue, and Antifa hit a black woman with a stroller, a child in the stroller. And so it wasn't black and white. It was like, Antifa's there doing this. The Proud Boys were there to defend against that. What do you do?
And every one of those guys that I met was retired LOA or
stand up people, man,
or ex-military. They were proud Americans. The whole thing about them, there was no organized insurrection, which is what the narrative is, right? There was no plan to take over the government. We were there to protest a bogus election.
And it still remains the same, right?
Prove to me that it wasn't.
Yeah. We were, even if it wasn't, even if it was, we were there to express our opinion. That is covered under the First Amendment right.
Yeah.
Or it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
We're supposed to be able to have free speech, right?
Yes, redress your grievances.
Just like what we're doing right now. This is our free speech. And so when we were there was 3 million plus people there. People can say there's a million. Yeah. I don't care. I was there. There was 3 million plus people there that were regressing our rights, and we were speaking our First Amendment rights about what we thought was happening. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. We were there to express our rights.
Right. Yeah.
Covered under the First Amendment.
And there were shenanigans, right? Shenanigans did take place.
Oh, on both sides, right?
Well, who knows?
No, I know on both sides. I was standing right there watching the other side do their shit.
And Antifa that were breaking the windows. There was, from my dear Trixie, who was standing next to you when you guys were there, saw them handing.
You put her under my protection. And thank you for that.
Well, I probably kept y'all both out of trouble by
you did.
Making you swear to me that you make sure she didn't get into any trouble.
Right. But it was a great day, man.
The feds that are watching this, I made Terry take care of my wife, and they stood well away.
So I never went
well away from any illegal, illicit activities.
Yes, exactly. And it's sad that we even have to say that. because the people that were ushered in,
Escorted.
they're looking at years and years in prison. So
Yeah.
I didn't go in, but the people that were ushered in are sitting there in jail for 3+ years now. Jake Lang, some of these guys been held as they can't even get a court date after 3 years.
Well, you know that, and
It's a travesty.
We had Mark and Jaleesa on last week.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
what do you say about that? I mean, she was choked and beaten with a billy club, and for her pain and suffering, she gets 5 to 9 years. I mean, she should be suing them.
Well, knock on wood, and prayers go. I mean, I'm praying so hard that Trump is reinstated. I'm praying this. I don't give a shit. You don't like it, I don't care. I'm praying that Trump is reinstated and that he gives all these J6ers pardons, every one of them. The people that are in jail, people that are not in jail, the people that are under indictment that haven't been sentenced yet, it should happen now.
Well, yeah. Well, it should happen now. We shouldn't have to wait until January for a pardon from him. All of those cases need to be done away with.
Yeah,
there's a word for it, but I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one on TV.
Well, we'll see what happens, and the deal is that us as American patriots need to continue to stand, continue to fight for anybody who's under political persecution.
Yeah.
Period.
Who would have thought it? When we were kids, there was no thought of political that was because Terry, you and I grew up during the Cold War, right? And we would hear stories about the Soviet gulag, right, in Siberia, and what happened to political dissidents, people in the government. Well, there's a reason why they call the DC jail the DC gulag.
But if you go back past that, and you and I know our history, because history is getting erased, right? We go past that to the McCarthy hearings, right?
Yeah, except that McCarthy was right.
Right. Well, what I'm saying,
infiltrating our country, and just look, they're there.
Right. But what I'm saying is, it was happening back then too. It was the beginning of this end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are. Well, guys, listen, we're glad to have you guys tonight. We're about out of time. We're about ready to wind it down. Rob, anything for the crew? We had a lot of good viewers on tonight, and we appreciate having y'all.
Next time you see me, maybe piloting a boat in Baltimore. They got this big that's got a job opening. So
listen, the cruise director or the person who's driving the ship that ran into that damn bridge, killed freaking people, and was it him or was it somebody else? And so anyways,
well, somebody put him up to it, right? Just because he's a Ukrainian pawn, being operated by the deep state. I mean, there's we'll see, it'll all come out in the end.
Well, hopefully not too many lives will be lost before then.
If you read Q Post, they're in control. They it'll be all right. Trump's going to win.
We got it. 2024 Trump. I'm going to close with our music.
Yeah. Flags up soon.
The great Clint Moody Band. Thank you, Clint, for letting us use your music. Facebook, you keep telling me this isn't my music. Clint Moody keeps telling me this is my music. So screw you, Facebook. We love you guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be back next week with Rob Jones and the amazing, the best man in the world, Bo Carver. Hang on a second. I'm going to play that again.
Play it. It's just
because I didn't get the highlight on that. There it is. There we go. Because Bo always does this to me at the beginning of the show. He's like, "Oh, the great Patriot Terry." So here we're gonna go. The great missing Bo Carver, the man MIA, but yet the greatest Patriot ever. Bo Carver is not here tonight. We love you, Bo. You're the man.
I believe in the Lord, but
you next week.
Should walk is walking on